Welcome to our daily story. Please give me some feedback. If you've listened, don't forget to like and comment below. Megan walked out into the yard with a shopping basket full of white cloths. Chirabi working in his office. Megan has always liked that silence, but lately, it has brought with it emptiness. She bent down to adjust the fabrics in the basket, her hands agile. A strong wind suddenly blew past, blowing the hem of her skirt up high. For a second, Megan was stunned, feeling his face heat up with embarrassment. She quickly used her hand to hold down her skirt, but it was too late. When she raised her head, her eyes immediately met Nathan, Chirabi's stepson, standing nearby. Nathan stammered, his eyes both surprised and confused, but there was something deeper in that look. She quickly said, but deep in her heart, Megan felt that those eyes left an unforgettable mark. Megan stood in the kitchen, her hands slowly washing a pile of dishes from lunch. Nathan entered the kitchen, his feet light as if he was trying to avoid attracting Megan's attention. He was wearing a white t-shirt and jeans, looking comfortable, but his eyes seemed to always follow her every move. "Do you need any help?" Nathan asked, his voice calm. "No need, Nathan," she answered, not looking up, her hands still busy cleaning the plate in her hand. The space becomes quiet. Only the sound of water dripping from the kitchen faucet remains. Megan felt Nathan's presence. It felt like a light breeze passing by that she couldn't ignore. She turned around, trying to give a polite smile. "Why don't you go outside? It's a beautiful day today. I prefer staying indoors. Here, it's peaceful." That afternoon, Megan was trimming roses in the garden. Sunlight penetrates through the foliage, shining golden streaks of light on the ground. But even as she busied herself with careful scissors, she couldn't help but feel that she was being watched. Nathan is washing his car not far away. In the sunlight, sparkling drops of water splashed as he wiped the car with a towel. Nathan's appearance, from the way he moved to the way the light reflected on his tan skin, made it impossible for Megan not to notice. She quickly lowered her head and focused on the flowers. "What are you doing?" she blames herself. But despite all her efforts, her eyes still secretly looked at Nathan. Nathan said, startling her. "He's been standing here since when did she realize it? You need something?" His eyes remained fixed on her face. There was something in those eyes, not curiosity, not quite admiration, that Megan couldn't describe. "Thank you." She turned around, but her shaking hands betrayed her true feelings. Chirabi went on a business trip, and only Megan and Nathan remained. She sat on the living room sofa, trying to concentrate on a movie playing on TV, but her mind was in disarray. She heard light footsteps coming closer. "Nathan," she thought instantly, and as expected, he appeared in the doorway. "You don't sleep?" Megan shook her head. "I'm not sleepy. What about you?" Nathan walked into the room and sat down on the sofa across from her, the distance between them closer than she would have liked. He didn't answer immediately, but just silently looked at her, his eyes as if he wanted to say 1,000 things. "I think sometimes there are things that I can't control. I know this is wrong, but..." "But what?" Megan asked, her voice so low that it was almost a whisper. "But I couldn't stop thinking about you." His words made the whole space seem to freeze. Megan wanted to stand up, wanted to deny everything, but her legs seemed frozen. She felt Nathan's breath closer than ever before. She whispered, her voice trembling, but she had no intention of leaving. Nathan reached out and touched her shoulder lightly, his eyes never leaving Megan's face. Sometimes the wrong thing is the only thing that makes us feel alive. After that night, things between Megan and Nathan were never the same again. They didn't say it out loud, but they both understood that the boundaries had been blurred. Surreptitious moments began to appear, the lingering glances as they passed each other in the hallway, the light touches of hands while passing a glass of water, and the times Nathan stood too close while Megan was cooking. One morning, while Megan was making coffee in the kitchen, Nathan walked in, his hair slightly disheveled from sleep. "Can I help?" he asked, his voice low and gentle. "There is no need, Nathan." Nathan stepped closer, placing his hands on the table next to her. "I think you should get some rest. You look a little tired." Megan felt his presence clearly, like an invisible attraction that she could not ignore. "You are fine." But Nathan's eyes never left her. "I don't think so." Secret meetings are becoming more and more intimate. In the flower garden, among the roses that Megan loves, Nathan suddenly approached her and held her hand. "Megan, you don't need to be alone. I am here." Megan tried to pull his hand back, but his hand held tightly. In that moment, all she felt was warmth, something she had not felt in her marriage with Chirabi for a long time. Even though she knew everything was wrong, Megan couldn't help but want that feeling. The quiet afternoon was broken when Megan entered the kitchen and saw a white envelope placed neatly on the table. There was no sender name, no address, just a simple envelope. Her hands were shaking as she opened it. Inside is a white sheet of paper, neat but cold, with the following brief words. "I know everything." Megan felt her chest tightening. Her eyes scanned the room, as if someone was hiding in the shadows, observing her every move. "Who would know? Who has seen us?" At that moment, Nathan walked in, his expression relaxed as usual. "Are you okay?" he asked when he saw her confused face. Megan tried to hide the letter in her hand, forcing a weak smile. "Just a bit tired." Nathan stared at her, his eyes looking like he wanted to probe deeper, but he didn't say anything more. He walked closer, put his hand on her shoulder, and whispered, "If there's anything, just tell me." Megan couldn't concentrate on anything. She tried to ignore the feeling of being watched, but every little noise made her jump. The only question that rang in her mind was, who left the warning? And what will they do next? The small piece of paper became an obsession, like a time bomb waiting to explode, threatening to destroy all the secrets between her and Nathan. That afternoon, Megan was carefully folding a blanket on the sofa when he heard Chirabi's car stop in front of the house. She was surprised, because her husband said he would be away on business until the weekend. When the door opened, Chirabi entered with an unusual manner. In his hand was a big brown envelope. His eyes were sharp and cold, almost making Megan freeze on the spot. "Megan, explain to me what this is." "Chirabi, it's not like you think." "It's not what you think." Chirabi's voice was low, filled with hurt mixed with anger. "These things say it all, Megan. You with your son?" Nathan entered from the hallway, his face quiet but his eyes determined. "I take responsibility for this." "Shut up!" Chirabi roared, stepping toward Nathan. "You abused my trust. I welcomed you home, and this is how you return the favor?" Chirabi pointed towards the door. "Get out of my house. Right now." Nathan quietly packed his things while Megan stood there, tears streaming down her face. She tried to say something to hold back, but no words could ease Chirabi's hurt. As Nathan drove away, his figure gradually disappearing, Megan felt like her heart was broken. The secret is now no longer a secret, and the consequences have become a cruel reality. After Nathan left, Megan's house was filled with eerie silence. Chirabi didn't say a word to her. He closed the office door and stayed in there for hours. Megan sat alone in the living room, feeling like everything was collapsing around her. The following days, Chirabi filed for divorce and moved out to a hotel, leaving Megan in a house that is now just an empty shell. Neighbors began to whisper. The next-door neighbor, who used to be very friendly, now only gives a cold smile when meeting Megan. But she knew that the story had gotten out. Scratching eyes and sarcastic gossip crept into every corner of her life. During all of that, Megan couldn't stop thinking about Nathan. Even though she knew it was all over, she still missed his eyes, the way he made her feel alive in her boring life. But now, those feelings are only emptiness and pain. One morning, while Megan was sipping a cold cup of coffee, she heard a noise at the door. A white envelope was stuffed through the door crack. Her hands trembled when she opened the envelope. Inside was a piece of paper with the short words, "Sorry for everything. One day, I will come back to look for you." There's no sender name, but Megan knows who wrote it. She sat there, staring at the words, overwhelmed with emotion. For the first time in weeks, a smile touched her lips, fragile, but a glimmer of hope. Megan sat in an empty house. Everything around her seemed to be immersed in terrifying silence. Every little corner of the house reminded her of the moments between her and Nathan, the secret glances, the fleeting touches of hands, and even the sinful kisses. She held the letter Nathan left. The words were short but filled with so much emotion. "One day, you will come back to find me." Even though everything was over, that line still made her heart ache, both painful and full of desire. After Nathan left, Megan went through the hardest days of her life. Her marriage to Chirabi ended bitterly, leaving her with loneliness and the judgmental eyes of those around her. But from within that isolation, she begins to realize that her life does not revolve solely around other people. Megan decided to start again from scratch. She spends her time focusing on herself, renovating her garden, taking art classes, and finding the small joys in everyday life. She knows she cannot change the past, but she has the right to build the future in a better way. One day, while pruning roses, Megan heard the doorbell ring. Her heart beat fast, feeling both excited and worried. When she opened the door, she found a white envelope, without the sender's name, just like last time. Inside was just a small card with the words, "I kept my promise. Are you ready?" Megan smiled, feeling her heart warm once more. She doesn't know what the future holds, but she's ready to face it. This time, there is no more fear, no more hiding. There is only hope and a new ray of light in her life. Thank you for listening to the whole story. Please leave your comments as likes and comments below.